So keeping up with the running gag of me not having an appropriate shirt for a Rob Watches episode, I surprisingly don't have any Looney Tunes shirts. Which is weird because I love Looney Tunes. I do, however, have this. So, a little bit of history before we get into the review here. During my early career as a content creator, I tried to do merch. I had a little t-shirt store, and the shirts were mostly like inside jokes from Cartoon Clip Show episodes. Nobody bought any, and I believe the place online that I had them listed went under. So I haven't done shirts like that in a while. But I also came up with this design, which is looking a little faded. I don't know if it's because it's old or wasn't really printed well. The vector image looks way better. I'll probably put up an image of it. Would you buy this? I've been considering doing shirts again. Would you buy this? Leave a comment and let me know. So The Day the Earth Blew Up is a fully 2D, traditionally animated Looney Tunes movie released in theaters in the year of 2025. Never did I think I'd see the day where something like this happens. Now, of course, there have been other Looney Tunes movies, but most of those were live-action hybrid movies like Space Jam and Looney Tunes Back in Action. And there were animated movies. Some of these made it to theaters. I think some were direct-to-video. These were mostly, though, just re-releases of classic Looney Tunes shorts with some sort of wraparound segment, like Bugs Bunny telling a story or Daffy Duck going after ghosts or something. And they would have appropriately themed Looney Tunes shorts kind of interspliced with them. But it is true that we have never actually had a fully animated original Looney Tunes movie, like ever, in the near century that these characters have been around. And I feel like we should be grateful for this because the movie was delayed a lot. Like, this goes back to, I think, 2019, and originally it was going to be released on HBO Max, but through a whole bunch of things, different distributors and everything, it got pulled from Max and then eventually found its way to the theaters. I believe it made some rounds in a lot of the indie circuit, and it got a lot of reviews that were very good. We almost lost this movie like we lost Coyote vs. Acme, which was a fully produced live-action animated hybrid movie which was going to star Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Unfortunately, in case you've been living under a rock, that movie got shelved and was never released to the public for tax write-off purposes, because that's a thing that can happen nowadays. And it's a shame because people were really upset about it because, honestly, what kind of a low-life human being does that? You gotta be a real self-centered, selfish piece of work to deny people the Looney Tunes they love and deny the animators and artists that work so hard on the movie to not see their work put out there. What a maroon. Anyway, this movie stars Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, who I always thought were a great duo. The Looney Tunes shorts where they were together were always some of the best ones, some of the funniest, because they have such a great comedic camaraderie together. They're very reminiscent of like a lot of the classic comedy duos like Laurel and Hardy or Abbott and Costello. The movie also stars Petunia, Porky Pig's girlfriend, who I always felt was a very underutilized Looney Tune. The plot of this movie is that there's an alien invasion happening, and they infect the local chewing gum supply, and everybody that chews the gum becomes a mindless zombie, and there's an alien mastermind behind the whole thing. And I'm not going to go too deep into the plot because that's spoilers. But the cool thing about this movie is that it seems to homage a lot of classic science fiction movies, like classic alien invasion movies. The name of the movie is obviously an homage to the film The Day the Earth Stood Still, but there's a lot of other stuff interspliced with this, like War of the Worlds, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, even The Blob. The original Blob from the 50s, not the one from the 80s. Even though that's the superior one. The animation in this is very good. It's very rubbery, very fast-paced, very wacky. It perfectly captures the look and feel of the original Looney Tunes shorts. They even captured the visuals of a lot of the classic Looney Tunes shorts, which took place in like the 1940s, because the backgrounds look very blurry and hand-painted, and the setting seems very old, but apparently it's supposed to take place in modern time, which was a little bit confusing and probably one of the few complaints I have with this movie, because there were scenes where, like, oh yeah, they have characters that look like they came from like the 1940s. It was like a man in a suit with a fedora, which, you know, you don't see anymore. But then, you know, I saw smartphones, and there was a gag because at the beginning of the movie, Daffy and Porky are trying to raise money to save their house, so they're doing all these kinds of jobs and, you know, that whole shtick. And at one point they were working at a Starbucks, or like a coffee place like Starbucks. And then, you know, they showed smartphones, and there was a part where Daffy tries to be an influencer, and they showed a video of him twerking on like a TikTok site, which, you know, is fine. It's wacky. It's Looney Tunes. I don't have a problem with it. But I feel like this was kind of confusing to me because, again, visually it looked like a original Looney Tunes short from like the 40s or the 50s, but then like there's modern stuff in it, so it doesn't feel like it mixes well together. So again, very confusing. You got to pick a lane. It has to be either the old school or the new school. It can't be both. It doesn't really work that well. The only other issue I had with this movie was they do that trope of when, like, the best friends kind of break up. You know, that felt kind of inevitable. In fact, I knew it was going to happen when I went into this movie because, you know, they do that whole thing where, like, something happens between the two best friends and then they separate for a while and then they got to learn to make up and get along again. You know, it's kind of an overused, tired trope, and I feel like, again, I knew it was going to happen, and even then I just kind of rolled my eyes. They didn't do a whole lot with it, but it was still there. And the funny thing was, a lot of it was Porky's fault because, well, whenever, like, they try to do something with Daffy, he goes full Looney Tunes and messes things up. And when they meet Petunia, he wants to spend time with Petunia and wants to keep Daffy away. And the thing was, Daffy didn't have a problem with Petunia, it seemed like. It was all on Porky that did this. And, well, I mean, things work out, obviously, but again, it's a very, very cliched, overused trope, and I kind of wish they had done something different with it. I gotta say, though, it is great seeing an animated film that is entirely manned by voice actors. So you have Eric Bauza, who is the current voice of the Looney Tunes, most of them anyway, and he is great. Like, I can't think of anyone else right now that can play the Looney Tunes. He has the projection, he has the energy, he has the voice for it. I think Mel Blanc would be proud of him. And then you have Candy Milo, who's the voice of Petunia, and she's great too, and there's a bunch of other actual voice actors in this. Some of them are kind of like half and half. Peter McNichol plays the main character, or the main villain rather, the alien mastermind, and he's more known for live action, but he does plenty of voice acting too, and he was great in this as well, and he's usually great in a lot of his voice roles too. But it was really nice seeing actual voice actors in an animated movie in starring roles, and not just some celebrity that they picked just so they can put a name on a poster, Chris Pratt. But you know what? This movie was fun. I enjoyed it very much. I have no major complaints about it. I hope people go to see it. I think that, again, if you love Looney Tunes, if you love the classic Looney Tunes, you're going to really like this movie. And even then, if you're a fan of the old school science fiction alien invasion movies, you'll probably have a lot of enjoyment out of this as well, just seeing all the references. And it does amaze me how still relevant the Looney Tunes are. They've been around for the better part of a century. I mean, they're up there with like the classic Disney characters, and there's some other characters that have endured as well, but the Looney Tunes just seem to keep trucking on. I mean, they do tend to reinvent themselves every once in a while. Me personally, I prefer the Chuck Jones Looney Tunes, but it's nice that they continue to go on and people still love them. And the fact that we got a movie out of this now is very special. And I really hope people go see this. I just recently heard it's actually doing pretty well. They picked a weekend where not much else is going on, so that was kind of a good move on their part. And I really hope more people support this. If it's still in theaters when you're watching this video, please go see it. If it comes out on Blu-ray, buy it. When it comes to streaming, watch it. Give this support because it really needs it. And I hope they do more of these. There is a small after credit scene, nothing too major, like you don't really have to wait for it. But they did allude to them wanting to do more movies, potentially even a sequel, or maybe even other movies with other Looney Tunes characters. That'd be great. I would love to see a whole library of Looney Tunes movies done in this style. It would be amazing. So I do highly recommend this movie. This is a hard recommend for me, especially if you love the Looney Tunes and you want to see more. And I hope a lot more people will support this because we need to show the know-it-all billionaires who are only concerned with lining their pockets with money that people want to see stuff like this. You're despicable. That's all I got for the day the Earth blew up. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and release Coyote vs. Acme.